Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out on a very cold night, but it's a reasonable night out there. Tonight's event's going to be live streamed, or is live streamed, as well as being recorded. And it's going to be on our website, www.gtrshops.ca, and as well as the Ballanran website. And I'd like to thank Ballanran for helping us out tonight by recording the event, and share that with your friends if you wish. Last time my opening slide had rules of engagement. I forgot it. So the rules of engagement are basically, we'll leave the questions for last. You have, I believe there was pieces of paper that you could fill out if you had a question. It could be a long night. Last one was an hour and 10 minutes of me chatting. It was just me, and then a half hour of questions. And I do encourage questions, and I want to be challenged. I want to find out why this won't work, because the way I see it right now, it still works. And the building, people have made comments to me, and it has been able to take the hit, as I call it, in design. You know you have a good design when you can, somebody challenges you with, oh, well, what about this? Oh, well, we could do that here. Okay, you know you're going in the right direction. And so far, I haven't had to crumple it up and throw it away, because when you do that, you fail in architecture. Tonight, I have guest speakers with me. Dean Robinson is going to tell us a little bit of why Stratford punches above its weight. I also have a couple gentlemen from Tremco who are going to talk about the cladding systems of the building and how we can keep it warm and dry and make it look as good as it currently, well, better than what it currently does, and make it again reflect that history that the building has in it. And also, solar panels are part of the plan of the first event. There's going to be an update from Luke Shantz at Arcadian, who's going to get into some detail on solar panels, answer your questions. I know Lauren Bolton is here. He's the guy that talked to me firsthand about solar, and he's been on that for a lifetime. And so we'll address that. And then John Kastner was supposed to be here tonight to talk a bit about bringing 6218 back to Stratford. So I haven't seen him, but if he shows up, great. If he doesn't, I'll just wing it. Let's begin. The rules of engagement we'll wait till the end for the questions. So this is an interesting slide. Why do I have a calculator? And it goes with a story. A client of mine in Goderich, Ontario, called me up and said, hey, my buddy who owned a store that sells petroleum products, it burnt down and he lost his office and he needs somebody to draw it up for him. Oh, great. So, okay, I go out and meet his friend, Don, and going through it, and I'm working out the design and figuring out the size of rooms. And my friend client who introduced us came in and said, hey, what's Ritz doing here? He goes, well, you told me to get an architect. He goes, yeah, but you don't know what you want yet. Like, do you know exactly what you want? And do you have the money to do it? And he pulls out his calculator. He goes, okay, how big a room do you have? Come on, that's a little big, because at $300 a square foot, you can't afford it, you know? And he started running the math of the calculator. So the bottom line of the story is basically what the slide says. Once you decide what you want, you first design with a calculator to determine how you can afford it, then move forward with the design. And so tonight, last time I said the next meeting is going to be about numbers. I have to apologize. I have numbers, but I don't have a price for each phase of the project. We do have a price for the rehabilitation phase of the project, which is just to shore up the building, put a roof on it, and get some income out of it as a parking garage to self-finance the cost of that work without impact on the taxpayer. And we'll show you how that works. Yeah, we'll get into it. So the goal of the presentation is to provide council with a clear path to move forward and develop the site, again, with minimal impact to the taxpayer. So does the city need a developer? And last time I spoke quite a bit about that. And the city is still thinking, we need a developer. We need a developer. And I question it. So how does this city generate income? And we generate it by, as we all know, every month something comes out of our bank account, property taxes. but they also develop and rent, or they develop and rent or sell parking. They have bought buildings. The old Canadian Tire store was purchased by them, and it's now part of the Erie Street parking lot. They bought this site for parking and as well. And develop and sell land, they do that in an industrial park. So the city in itself is a developer. They just, we are, I guess. They buy and develop land for the parking, mentioned that, the industrial park, but they also bought land and developed recreation facilities at the rec complex. So, and the rec complex, as an aside, the land area and the building area is similar to the GTR project. So we've done it before. And part of this tonight is say, yes, we can. So what do we have? We have a building, we have a site, and we have debt. You can see the stuff up there, heritage structure, the acreage. And with the building on the site, we have 2.58 acres, and we have a debt of $27 to $30 million. Not much to show for it. So there's some stats on it, basically repeating that. So what are the options? So one option that's being thrown around, and it's always been thrown around, is demolish the building and sell the site. Well, let's see how that math works. So the cost to demolish, I have $4 million. It ranges anywhere from $2 to $4 million, but we're not sure, so I picked the high number. We have 17 acres. It's contaminated soil. If we tear down the building, or we have already remediated parts of the land for the transit hub and the university, there's no building left, but there'll be 3.85 acres of railway easement. And where the building was, there's contamination, and that would have to be cleaned up. So the city debt's increased if we tear the building down. As you can see, the math will be up to $43 million, $3.7 million per acre. Now, the comparable is what the police are looking at right now is Scotiabank in the city. 10 acres, 100,000 square. There's the numbers. It's a deal. If we didn't have the GTR site, go for it. But if you buy that asset, you still have the assets sitting on the GTR site. Like, what are you going to do with it? So part of this talk is to try to encourage council to look at what we have and use it for what you need. So at that price for the land, it's not marketable. It's the GTR site. So this option isn't feasible. Tearing it down just doesn't make sense because nobody will buy it. And there it is. So what are the options? So to make it attractive to a developer, this is a rerun of the last slide. We have to tear the building down. And then we have a contaminated site. And then we have $31 million in it. And people are telling me with the contaminated site, you basically just got to let her go. Bad deal. And I get into that a little bit more detail. But let's put it in perspective. In 2018, we sold 11 acres to a developer for $1.5 million. A giveaway. If we had that, there's our affordable housing, folks. Options. So upgrade the Y or place in the GTR. So the city's also looking at what it says up there, putting the library next to the Y. There's remediation costs, 1.2 million. If they build the Wilmot pool, there's 21 million, but it'd be 21 million if it's added to the existing Y or if it's added to the GTR building. So that's a number that is a wash. It is what it is. And the Y is going to find ways to generate that income. And the cost to, and also there's recovery if you go into the GTR building. What are the options? Again, back to demolishing. So this is a building in Toronto. The bottom line is on that demolition, it's average $28 a square foot to demolish it. If we do the same to the GTR building, this is how I get the bottom line, $4 million. I rounded it up from 3.7 to 4. The site needs the area with the red box around it. That area has had a record of site condition to know what we can build there. As you can see under it, it states for uses and institutional uses. And if we want to move forward, we've got to move forward now to get a record of site condition for the west portion of the lot. So here's the inconvenient truth. I love the movie. The city bought the site for, to develop it. You know, they were a speculator developer hoping to sell the land and use the parking for their own use. They did sell the land. I was part of the team in 1995 that was interested in buying it. Through that adventure, Lawrence Ryan eventually picked it up. That's another story. The city developed the land into parking, but never charged for the parking to cover the cost to buy it or to maintain it. That's come out of the tax base. Probably not. Maybe it would come out of the parking lot fund. We'll go there, not the taxes. The vacant building was generating some tax income since it was owned by somebody else. City took it, expropriated a property that generated property tax, and for the university, with the conditions on the expropriation, had to be for the university or community use. If the building then is demolished, the city will have spent $43 million. I don't call it an investment since there's no financial return. Since the land's restricted to civic and university uses, the cost of the property is not marketable to sell to private interests. We lost. Face it, folks, bad deal. You speculated, didn't work. So we got two choices. Sell it at a loss and we eat the 43 million. And if that happens, somebody better take some responsibility for it, or the city develops it themselves into a community complex, the way the city developed the recreational complex, the Rotary complex, which is similar in size, et cetera, to the shops. So let's look at it. Rehabilitate the building, finance indoor parking. So there are the numbers, 12 million to rehabilitate it, plus some money for sprinkler system, floor prep lines, parking garage equipment. Our total cost is 13.4 million. Amortizing that over 25 years will cost us $74,000 a month, minimum, which is the minimum income required. Divide that by 317 or 349. I could squeeze that in if you park them like they do at the airport in Toronto. Comes to $215 a month. Not bad. Stratford's outdoor parking is about $115 a month. This is indoor dedicated parking. I think it's a bit of a reach at $215, but it's there. And there's the rest of the stats. The debt, it really hasn't changed because we really haven't spent any more money to do this. The parking, in essence, should self-finance it. Now, again, you have to have a market for that parking. So there's what we do. The yellow lines show what we're doing with the building. We basically just put a new roof on it. We actually clean the steel, replace damaged steel sections, reinforce the steel as required to support snow loads, future solar panels, we hope. Brand new roof. The walls are probably going to look exactly the way they are now. We have to put a ventilation system in it. But the goal is to bring the building back, sandblast the interior. So the interior is finished, in essence. We've got painted steel and we've got exposed concrete. It's a nice interior design. So now, if we're going to spend money demolishing this thing of about $4 million, and we're willing to do that, our council is, then why don't we just take the $4 million and throw it at the rehabilitation? Notice what the bottom line is for parking, $151 a month. Not bad. It's about $30 more, $35 more than parking outside in the snow. Only during the day. Overnight parking is being debated right now. Again, the debt's increased to 31 million. So what we have to do is not think in silos, where individuals, teams, departments work in isolation, withholding information and refusing to cooperate with other parts of an organization. So we have the City of Stratford, we have a police department, we have a library, we have community groups that are interested in the building. We have the YMCA. These are the other groups. These are the other parts of the organization. So I'm suggesting we use this site to accommodate the civic needs that we have sort of pressing. The library needs to get larger, the police needs to get larger, and we'd like to have a larger pool at the Y. So through the master plan, the ad hoc committee, most of these civic needs were identified as listed. And more recently, the new police headquarters. All these facilities as separate buildings will cost money to build. So the debate is, do we build them freestand or do we use that money towards cleaning up the GTR site to make it, use it for what it is? It's a good, strong structure that needs a good roof. and they would function best in shared facilities. And here's the group. They do not think in silos. These organizations are willing to collaborate with an interest to share spaces as tenants in the GTR building. So they're on board. What's the bottom line? It's the city's best interest to join and encourage such collaboration and partnership. Let's get with it, Stratford. You've got 3 that are interested in it. Let's find ways where they can say a solid yes, because there's many unknowns. And that's why it's a letter of interest versus a letter of intent. And I don't, that's what you should do as those groups. Don't commit yourself, but show that you're interested. So again, I'm flashing slides here of what it could be if we created it into, there's the library, the Y entrance, the pool, and the tower, again, more of the Y, Stratford Street entrance off of St. David. This is the driveway through the site, or the road through the site at Stratford Street. And the Wilmot pool inside. So it's a bit of a chess game. Got to move some pieces around. We have to be strategic about it. So council's currently looking at getting the Scotiabank data center. And one of the reasons the location is desirable is that it's, since we're serving St. Mary's and South Perth, it's more central to them. Well, let's say we get the contract for Perth East. Suddenly it's a bit off center because Perth East goes up to Milverton. And then even though the police are, roaming around the city, cruising the town, the SWAT unit is at the police station. And that SWAT unit's important in major serious events. And being in a tourist town, we have 3,700 tourists here if all theaters are full at the same time, which is interesting. It's about the same population as Perth South and a little bit less than double of, I guess that phrase is right, of the population of St. Mary's at 74, but I think they're closer to 8 now. Finally, and most importantly, by purchasing this building at 14 million, and I hear that Scotiabank's refused 10 million, they would be removing a commercial building. This is the one that gets me. This is the one, hold the phone, folks. You're telling me you're going to pull a building that's generating $162,000 in tax revenue, and you're willing to wave that goodbye so you could put a non-tax-paying police station there? Really? So who's picking up the shortfall? We're sitting here. Then add this to the 14 million purchase price. Okay, and I note the amortization. So that tax revenue can generate $2.4 million if you were borrowing it for 25 years. Add that to the 14, we're at 16.4 to repurpose the Y. Also, if the vacant land on that, so that site has 4 acres of developable land, the Scotiabank building, whoever buys it could sever that off and build an apartment, 120 unit condominium, maybe 3 or 4 buildings. At least 3, if not 4. It would generate $3,000 per unit in taxes for a total of 360. That number generates another 5.35 million. So that's generating 21.75 million to repurpose the Y into Stratford Police Headquarters. That's what you get if you don't buy it. You lose all that if you do buy it. So here's a chance where you can actually take money that you're willing to spend to buy a police station, take the tax revenue that it's generating and the future development's generating, and put it towards the Y and the GTR site. So to me, it's a no-brainer. Right now, the city development consultant is recommending adding a pool and change room addition and upgrading the Y with a new 40,000 square foot library. Okay, but again, that's going to cost similar to what it would be on the GTR site. Remediation, it's optimistic at $1 million. My cost 1.2. I thought I edited this screen, but I didn't. The cost of the addition similar. Again, build a pool on either building, it's going to be the same price. And the cost to refurbish the existing building, the Y, as it sits now, because it's got work. You could put that money in refurbishing the GTR building to make it into the Y. So how to make it all work? A lot of math here, trying to keep it simple. I'll probably just go right to the bottom. No, this one's a good one. We'll flash. So this is explaining how, and this is for the website so people can study it at home later. The idea is that there's ample money to put by the Y, develop the Y, by using the funds I just talked about that you can generate off of properties that are paying taxes. This allows the YMC to proceed with the development of the GTR. Purchasing and renovating Scotiabank Center does not. Private business, I know two that are looking at that site right now, should purchase the Scotiabank Center, and council should allocate the tax funds from that site from this point forward to the GTR site. Because if you're willing to let it go, then send it to the GTR. Assets. If we buy the Scotiabank building, we have another asset. We have an empty police station. It's listed there with the square footage. So we have a total vacancy of 252,000 square feet. Retrofitting and placing everybody in the Y, we have vacancy of 44,000 square feet. And you can see how the numbers are worked there. So again, it's in the city's best interest to collaborate with these groups to ensure future decisions are coordinated, planned, and cost effective, thereby providing greatest positive impact for our community. Like, to me, it's simple math. I'm looking at my friend Martin here, and he's a math whiz, and it's pretty simple, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Oh, there's an accountant telling me it's complicated. You know, I went further. I didn't want accounting. I went to the ARs when I was going through the calendar for university. So what do we have? We have, except for the new police headquarters, the size of the GTR building can handle everybody. And what would we have if the GTR building, what do we have if everybody does move, an empty Y? And this is the story on why we should go to the police station should pick it up. Council holds the key for this one. It's the decision on where the police station goes, I think, is key, because I can't see many other uses going into the YMCA. And police, looking at it, not with them, well, I looked at it a bit with them, but it has the square footage. It can be expanded quite easily. It's in the center of town. And some of the facilities in the Y, such as the change rooms, the whole basement could be change rooms, fitness, gun range, and the old pool becomes your SWAT training area with all the different levels. So, you know, there's stuff in it already that you don't have to build into it. So you either go in the police station, but if you go elsewhere, those funds do not go to the, so how's the win-win work? If the city buys the Y, then the Y is going to take the money they receive and put it into the GTR building. So with that money, you're killing two birds with one stone. You got a new police station, and they take that money and put it in the GTR building for you. But if they go elsewhere, that money that you buy land from for the new police station, that's gone. We don't get any benefit of that money being spent by the city. And if they buy again the property that's generating taxes, we lose again. So if the city makes a choice that does not benefit the taxpayer, the YMCA will likely not find a buyer and will not be a prime tenant in the GTR building. If the YMCA is not in the building, then the library, with its affiliation with the Y, will also not be in the GTR building, but instead developing an addition to the YMCA for the library as per the consultant's direction. So with such a scenario, the GTR building's empty. We're just going to continue going for another 30 whatever years on it. Or we're going to give it away, and as soon as we give it away, we don't control that land. So this is showing some slides of how the Y, now, later, now, later, now, later. So it can be converted into an office building. It's sort of something I do. Now, this project's too big for Stratford. We're not a city of 500,000 people. And we've all seen that or read that in the paper. So I've asked Dean Robinson to join us tonight. He's a writer, historian, used to be in the sports world too. He's going to run, I'm going to run the slides. And he's going to tell the story. So Dean, if you want to come up, tell us the story. And the story is how Stratford punches above its weight. I'll try to keep up.
Well, you're going to stay here.
Well, I can't do it remotely. I don't like standing next to the person that's talking. It's not good.
Thank you. Excuse me. Can everybody hear me on the back? Okay. Thank you, Rob, for inviting me to talk about a little bit about shedding some light on his, and I agree with this, deep-seated belief that Stratford has long punched above its weight. In fact, it was that punching that propelled the town of Stratford into cityhood, which officially happened at the end of March in 1885. In Ontario at the time, a key requirement for the settlement to be granted city status was a population of at least 10,000. In 1885, Stratford's population was about 9,000. It seems we received city status because of economic and strategic importance. I'm using that pronoun we a little bit loosely here. I was not raised in Stratford, and I've only been here for 60 years. So I'm still a newbie, I guess.
You'll watch the keyboard.
Yeah, I'm hitting the keyboard on Rob. City status for Stratford did not follow industrial success. It enabled it. Simply put, Stratford became a city because it was functioning like one. Since the early 1870s, Stratford had been a division headquarters for the Grand Trunk Railway, whose presence included extensive rail yards, locomotive repair shops, a roundhouse. It also had a train station to facilitate passenger travel and freight service. Add to that the hundreds of skilled workers required to keep all those balls in the air. It could easily be argued that we were betting on the right horse. In the 1920s and into the mid-20th century, Stratford was one of Canada's major furniture manufacturing centers. At its peak, it was responsible for about 17%, or about 1/6 of all the furniture made in Canada. Some accounts suggest about 1/4 of the city's workers were employed in furniture manufacturing at its peak. Crayler Manufacturing and Imperial Furniture were significant producers of residential and contract furniture. If you need another numeric measure, the 1933 general labor strike that thrust Stratford into national newspaper headlines was sparked by about 650 furniture workers. The Crayler Company, once a centerpiece of the furniture industry in this city, closed its doors in 1992 after a run of 75 years. Furniture production and railway infrastructure reinforced each other. Raw materials flowed into Stratford by rail, while finished furniture was shipped out on the same rails nationwide. Stratford's existing rail dominance made it an ideal production center, while the growth of furniture manufacturing justified the railway's ongoing expansion of facilities and employment numbers. So the more railway services and availability, the better for the furniture people. They produce more, and that increased the work for the railway as well. So it was a pretty interesting combination. The city's march continued, the city's industrial march continued with the addition of the German-based Fisher Bearings Company opening its first North American facility here in 1953. That was the same year that Tom Patterson realized his dream of a Shakespearean theater in his hometown. And about 8 years before Lego located its Canadian Eastern North American manufacturing plant here. By then, Stratford had a glowing and growing reputation when it came to location, logistics, labor, and industrial capability. By then, too, Stratford had a teachers' college in Upper Queen's Park, an institution that served a catchment area from Tobermory to London, from Goderich to Cambridge. an institution that from 1908 to 1973 graduated almost 14,000 aspiring teachers. About 90% of them intake gave rise, that 90% of them were from out of town. That 90% out of town intake gave rise to a surge in room and board accommodation in Stratford that answered, you guessed it, a growing need as the Stratford Festival increased its summertime offerings. Since then, industries have come and gone in the city. They've expanded, they've amalgamated, they've changed names. The biggest departure, of course, was the Canadian National Railway's move from coal power to diesel and a decision to close its Stratford locomotive repair shop. At that time, the shop's footprint was the largest of the CNR's locomotive repair facilities, bigger than Point St. Charles in Montreal, bigger than Transcona in Winnipeg, bigger than the layout in Moncton, New Brunswick. The railway operation here was in the heart of the city, but for decades, it was also the heartbeat of the city. It made possible a lot of advancements and activities and made better those already in place. The shop shutdown was a blow that many predicted would bring Stratford to its knees, and it might have had Cooper Bessemer, an Ohio company, not stepped up to lease the shops and extend into Canada its manufacture of heavy diesel and natural gas engines and compressors. And Cleaver Brooks opened a plant at the south end of Monteith Avenue in which to build packaged boilers. And Reliance Electric took over a building vacated by the Westinghouse Company. By the time the last CNR workers walked from the shops in 1964, the festival was a decade old, and the Bard in the Park was well on its way to redefining Stratford as a theater destination. If one wants to celebrate beating the odds in Stratford, Tom Patterson's name would have to be on the marquee. He had railway family in his blood, but his heart was filled with the works of William Shakespeare and a desire to share those works in no small way. Patterson's dream then linked Stratford's industrial heritage with artistic ambition and turned a mid-sized Canadian city into an internationally recognized cultural center, creating decades of employment for actors, artisans, service workers, and a training ground for Canadian talent. Before Patterson, there was another Tom in town who left his mark, namely Thomas Edison. In the 1860s, he was a teenage night telegraph operator with the GTR. With his inventive mind, he created an automatic telegraph signal device that he set to repeat messages so he could sleep on the night shift. After a near train accident while he was on duty, Edison was reposted to the United States, where he pursued his career as an inventor. Since 1922, we've had in Stratford a war memorial museum designed by Walter Allward, the Canadian sculptor who designed the Canadian War Memorial at Vimy Ridge in France and the Canadian National War Memorial in Ottawa. Presenting you with names of people who were born in Stratford and became famous or were famous before and or after spending time in Stratford is, at the least, a mug's game. But I think it's important to share some names to further illustrate the punching above our weight theory. Stratford has produced significantly shaped or enhanced the careers of a remarkable range of actors, musicians, athletes. Some would say far out of proportion for the size of our community as municipality. Our global reputation in the arts world is tied largely, but not solely, to the Stratford Festival, which became and remains a training ground and launch pad for some and a showcase for others. The list of those sums and others include Tyrone Guthrie, Christopher Plummer, William Hutt, Lauren Green, Martha Henry, Douglas Rain, Colm Fior, Lucy Peacock, Cedric Smith, Cynthia Dale, Len Cariou, Peter Ustinov, Bill Needles, Butch Blake, Maggie Smith, Christopher Walken, Brian Bedford, Graham Greene, William Shatner, Sheila McCarthy. And did we not benefit when some of those and others chose to make Stratford their year-round home? As for musicians, we can point to Barbara Collier, Richard Manuel, John Till, Ken and Bob Kilmusky, Lorena McKennett, Earl Filsinger, Dana Manning, Dan Stacy, and a busker named Bieber. In the hockey world, how about the Senior A line of Flick, Roth, and Flanagan? They were teammates who went to the Allen Cup final. They and their teammates went to the Allen Cup final in Fort Francis in 1952. In 1951, before that season, Flick, Roth, and Flanagan were the top scoring line in helping the Kitchener-Waterloo Dutchmen win the world hockey title at a tournament in Paris. Two of the three, Bill Flick and Denny Flanagan, later helped the Stratford Hockey Club build one of the most successful Junior B franchises in the country. Since 1942, that club has won provincial titles 7 times, has been in the finals another 6 times. From its roster, more than 24 have made it to the NHL as players, as on-ice officials, or league staff. 3 of those, Boyd Devereaux, Chris Pronger, and Greg DeVries, have their name on the Stanley Cup once. Tim Taylor has his name on it twice. Rob Blake's name is also on twice, once as a player, once as a member of the LA Kings front office. Blake is also a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame. In addition to those names, let's add a charter NHL Hall of Famer, Howie Morenz, and Mo Morris, Nick Libet, brothers Steve and Henry Monteith, Jared McCann, Mark Bell, Steve Miller, and Kendrick Nicholson. Still on the ice, but wearing different blades on their skates, Donald McPherson and Jodine Higgins. From the baseball diamond in National Stadium, Larry Landreth and Rob Thompson. And Chris Spire, a California native who memorable 1969 intercounty season as a shortstop with the Stratford Hoods helped to propel him to a 19-year playing career in the majors. The first of those years were in San Francisco, and then he went to the Montreal Expos. For another decade, he was a coach and manager in the big leagues. If you need a Stratford native to introduce any of the foregoing celebrities at a banquet, why not Lloyd Robertson, who began his broadcasting career at CJCS Radio and ended it as the longest serving network news anchor in television history. Milt Dunnell and Bill Inkall also launched impressive media careers here. And there are more names, from academia and architecture to education and medicine, to literature and the law. I'm sure you all can add names of others who have helped make us proud of the place we call home. Most of the people I've named, perhaps all, would tell you that they were lucky to have grown up in Stratford or lucky to have spent time here honing their skills and weighing their options. Ah, yes, that word luck. I've long held that Stratford has been blessed with a lot of luck through the years, but luck means little if it's a call unanswered or a call squandered. We've had plenty of reasons to feel lucky to have a city such as ours. We were reminded of that last year when the GTR Renewal Committee invited 3 top officials from other centers to share some thoughts about how we might repurpose the deserted but history-laden shops and its adjacent grounds. The unified message they delivered was this: the Grand Trunk Renewal is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to transform 18 acres of downtown Stratford into a vibrant mix of housing, community amenities, and public spaces. The project should not be seen as a problem, but rather as an incredible opportunity. As Cam Guthrie, the mayor of Guelph, put it, I can tell you, this is a direct quote, I can tell you that every community in this province would love to have 18 acres downtown, under control, and ready for development. You have a chance to make that a generational change to your city. End of quote. We also have a pretty good track record for punching above our weight. Thank you for your kind attention.
Yeah, he almost had me in tears. Well, yes, great city. So at the last GTR meeting, I mentioned that Mike Pond, who did the study of the building and structural analysis of the building in 2013, was going to be here the next day, and he showed up, and we went through the building with Emily Robson and with the corporate initiatives lead, as well as Andre Morin, our CAO. And he wrote this comment. He couldn't be here tonight, but he did provide this comment. RJC's last formal review of the structure was completed in 2012, 14 years ago, when restorative work was identified as necessary and the replacement of the roof was recommended as a priority to protect the building from further deterioration. Since then, the structure has remained abandoned, and the removal of the roof has left the steel trusses, beams, and purlins exposed to the elements, without the protection or the stabilizing diaphragm action originally intended to tie the system together. That said, there is optimism that the structure can largely be preserved and restored. At the same time, a significant amount of detailed validation is required before RJC can responsibly provide any public statements. A comprehensive condition assessment, testing program, and structural analysis are all necessary to confirm the building's current state and to understand the upgrades that would be required to support the uses being contemplated. So that's from the engineer. So how do we get there? How do we make this happen? Project management. I've been pushing that one last time, and it's still very strong. And Mike has given me some assistance because his firm does project management services. So why a city-led PM strategy makes sense right now? Because there's the list. I'm not going to read it all, but there is a need for updated condition assessments, structural testing, and due diligence before any public endorsement. In other words, City of Stratford, bring this guy in or a project manager in and check it out to see what our real options are. I'm betting that we can use it. Core recommendation, PM to support city staff and the GTR steering committee. Hiring a project management firm is the first order of business. A dedicated PM partner becomes a redevelopment quarterback, somebody that's not going to advise you, he's doing it for you, and lists everything that they get into. And, validating capital expenditures, vetting phase implementation of the redevelopment, setting up stage approval gates so council does not overcommit on funding. He's there to keep them from spending too much of our money, or at least have a better idea of where it's really at, because we're grabbing at real things here, not pulling stuff out of the air, which just absolutely frustrates the hell out of me. Coordinating all technical disciplines, maintaining fairness in public procurement, and giving council the confidence that decisions are evidence-based. This demonstrates publicly that City Council can lead this project without selling the site, offloading control, or waiting for a private developer. The PM firm gives the city staff the capacity and support they need to deliver a project of this scale. How the City of Stratford would procure a PM firm outlines how to select them. This should satisfy the public procurement practice and gives council a defensible, transparent selection. Nobody's buddy's getting the job. It's all open. Everybody gets to see it. What the PM would do, get this, first 90 to 180 days. So the first 3 to 6 months, this is interesting. Refresh all evidence, go through the building, test it, environmental due diligence, code, fire, life safety, etc., geotechnical reviews, heritage impact assessment, updated demolition versus rehabilitation cost comparisons, validate use cases and program design, define clear phasing and cost plans, which elements get delivered first, how to activate early revenue, such as parking, solar, the concourse items in my plan, and cost estimate for each class, DC cost estimates for each phase. DC, when you get to A, that's a real hard number. DC, that's what I'm pushing out right now is a class D budget. This should work, but as we go further in estimating it and you need more drawings, you get to more accurate costing. Build a procurement roadmap, which contract to use, prepare the RFPQs for architects, engineers, contractors, and architectural contract engineer agreements. Note the word prepare competitive RFPQs for architects. That's me. I'm an architect. But I will not be involved with this project as it moves forward. It's a big job. We're a small office. And I see firms, Carlos Venton's firm and Simcoe, well, they're all over the province now, and Carlos has passed, but the Venton Group, they do many historic buildings, and they have an understanding of how to do it right, and they have a real nice design style. They did Castle Kilbride. The addition to Castle Kilbride is some of their work. They did a few schools in Stratford. They did Anne Hathaway, Hamlet, and those are the top two that were brand new. So they're good firm. It may not be them, but that's the kind of group you'll be in. And they have many offices. Funding partners, how to get the money, coordinate with the partners. So again, this is making it move forward, folks. This is what council needs. And this consultant, I know, don't hire another consultant. This guy, I like how it's termed, he's assisting staff to do their job, that we do it right. Phase one, make safe and enable scopes, going through it again, functional activation, am I going the wrong way? Full build out, here we go. So we're now in the business. Police, library, housing components, final concourses, community spaces, public realm improvements, commissioning, energy performance, heritage interpretation, long-term cost transparency. So you bring in the project manager, he's going to help us get to the keys of the building and get us to use it. So why this strategy helps the public understand that a private developer isn't required. The city retains ownership and control to leverage the property as a community-focused space to the greatest extent possible. We let it go to the developer, wave goodbye. You know for sure they will charge for parking. If we own it, yes, we might be charging for parking, but we can control the rates. The PM firm provides support and expertise for city staff and steering committees. Competitive procurement ensures fairness and cost discipline. Phased delivery reduces financial risk and allows early wins. Adaptive reuse avoids demolition costs and environmental uncertainty. And demolition costs, there's a lot of embodied energy in that building, and there's a lot of embodied energy in the Y. Everybody know what embodied energy means? Oh, okay. What's embodied energy? Embodied energy is the energy used to build the building the first time. So all the energy used to make the cement that, they do it at St. Mary's. There's a lot of heat used. So it's the energy used to build the building components, and then the energy used to build the building. So that's in the building. There's a phrase that the most environmentally friendly building is the existing one. Because if you tear down a bad building, that's like the shops, you could build a brand new building, same size, same area, well insulated to current codes, and it's a lifetime. It won't catch up to what was lost because you've spent all that energy again to replace what was there. So that's how that works. Did I explain it fairly well? Okay. So I don't see John here yet because I see the slide coming up. So I know it's coming, folks. And I didn't edit this fully. I started editing it, and I'll tell you, editing stopped at like 5:45 tonight. It was a long night last night, but I did go to bed for a while. Anyways, since the open house, what's up with 6218? Can we still get it? John and I have had chats about it. He had a fairly extensive email to me. Two, we talked about the railway, and nobody's talked to the railway. Can we get streets through the building? Again, tear it down, sell it. We've covered some of that. Remediation, we covered some of that already. Sell the land, we've covered that. Indications from council, it's off the list because we don't, a lot of that's in the press. The Scotiabank, we've addressed that a little bit. Again, adding, so we've covered some of this. Street changes in the building is the solution, not the problem, which has been my tagline for this project from the day it started. So 6218, grand old locomotive. It's currently in Fort Erie, Ontario. There it is as it sits a couple summers ago. The few years, there's one more slide I don't have here where it's rusted. And so the Fort Erie Museum and a group of volunteers refurbished it, not to the extent Stratford did. They cleaned the rust off and they repainted it to make it look the way it is today. And that is the locomotive that we're going to get back to Stratford, or it's our goal to get that back to Stratford. Now, I didn't want to tell anybody this, but I'm going to tell people this. If you notice at the front of the locomotive, above those two wheels at the front, notice what's beside the cab or the tank, sort of a streamlined shaped thing. Is it here? No, it's missing. Okay, you can clearly see the steps in this slide when it left Stratford in 1963, but where did the steps go? So what happened? The locomotive was added somewhere between when it left Stratford to here. They put on elephant ears, and that's a slang term for it, because they look like elephant ears. If they flapped out, they'd be like an elephant. The purpose of it was to bring air into the locomotive and funnel it up to the smokestack so that the plume of the coal, burning coal, would go higher and not go into the cab or the passenger cars behind it. It was a design that didn't really work because when you're traveling 60 miles an hour, it doesn't matter. The wind above the stack is going to push her back, and it gets worse when you go in a tunnel. So, but every image I've seen of this locomotive operating, no elephant ears. So here are the issues. Is Fort Erie willing to give it up? That's one. We've got to start from the beginning. John got it to a point where all we needed was the city of Stratford to say, yes, we will take it and we will build a facility to put it in, because that was the prime condition from Fort Erie. It's got to go indoors. Otherwise, it's eventually going to rot. Going to that, can it be moved? So the CN engineers, structural, locomotive, like not the guys that run the train, the guys that make them run, looked at it and said, hey, you know, if we pick this up, is it like a wet beer case with bottles in it? You know what that episode is like? You pick it up and the thing's collapsing on you. That's their concern. It looks good on the outside, but how rusted is that cylinder? More slings, maybe it'll happen. So that has to be reinvestigated. Will CN be involved, and will it be another vanity project? What they did, John lined it up that it was a vanity project for CN to get it here, and it would cost us nothing. They do vanity projects every 5 to 10 years. So did we lose that envelope? And again, we need the city and the museum on board for this. Now, the director of the museum likes the idea, but again, her board, she has to work with the city and the county with respect to their costs, ownership, that sort of thing. It's an artifact that's going to move from one museum to another museum, which in theory means that portion of the GTR building is an extension of the Stratford Perth Museum. So, and the big one, does it have a place to go? If not now, when? So the goal here is to give it a space. Like I said in my last presentation, somebody's going to give me my grandfather's 31 Pontiac, and I'll give it to you for free. All you need is to build the garage for it. I'll build the garage if I can get that vintage product back. And so there's the locomotive, and these are just slides we had last time on how to get up to the locomotive. There it is, sitting in that space. And again, these sketches they need more refinement. You know, we show the odd person in there. Somebody said to me, well, it's supposed to be a gathering spot. I don't see any crowds. I said, it's Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. Nobody's there. AM. But what a feature. And again, this one, the next slide broke Ken Wood's heart when he saw the mural on the movable wall behind the locomotive with the vista of what that building once was. And that's the whole idea of moving placing the locomotive on the second level so that it's flying as it once did in the past. And when it was being moved in its last days at Stratford. And also so that it can be seen from Downey Street. Like, why have it in a building with what? Somebody said, oh, you got a lot of glass in that. Well, gee, there's a lot of glass at the university building, and all I see behind that are stairs and a lobby. At least here we're seeing something that has some historical significance, as Dean said, was the heartbeat of the city. So why not celebrate it? So can we have streets over the rails? This is, okay. So to follow the rules, I did communicate with both CNR and Grand Trunk, try the other one, Godrich Exeter Railway, which is owned by a firm in the States, blanking on the initials and what they mean. Asked me 2 days ago, I tell you. Anyways, the bottom line is, oops, that's the next slide. The bottom line is that it's not a quick no, and hopefully it's a long yes. They discourage added crossings. When I spoke to Godrich Exeter, because it's not a CN line, CN's only concerned from the London line, and on our drawings, you'll see it later, there's a line showing its distance from their center line of rails, or at the edge of their rails, property line. And it's noise, vibration, that sort of thing. Those are their concerns. And they want somebody to sign off saying, if there's an explosion at the train station, you're not going to sue us. And Godrich Exeter has the same conditions. So Godrich Exeter and the road crossings, though, we're going one step further. Well, yeah, the trains don't go by there that quickly. You know, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a no. And I like that. So as long as it's not a quick no, I think we're in good shape. The deal is, though, I can't do it. City of Stratford has to do it because they're the ones that are going to have to show how it's going to be financed. And yes, that'll come out of the GTR budget to do this, to put road crossings in at least $250,000 per road crossing. And we've got 2 of them. And then there's the maintenance program to take care of it because they fix them up because our vehicles run over it. And so the city's charged on all the crossings in the city for that maintenance. So next part of this great introduction, great meeting is not listening to me talk. I'm going to have Luke Shantz talk from Arcadian Group, and with respect to the feasibility of solar panels and is there payback? Luke?
Thank you, Robert, and thank you for having me out tonight just to go through some of the high-level behind-the-scenes stuff of this. This project can be sustainable, and Robert has a vision for how we can get behind this. And just seeing everybody in this room tonight just reminds me of why I love our community and how everybody gets behind impactful projects like that. So thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight. I just want to shed a few things. Our company, we're out of New Hamburg. We're a multi-trade company, and we do a lot of work in the energy sector. We roll out EV charging networks. We do solar projects, battery storage projects, and grid infrastructure upgrades. We have a multi-trade group that does a lot of work here in Stratford, in the city, and all around, doing mechanical, electrical work and long-term care facilities and stuff. So a little bit about the back of our group. This is the journey of our company. We started about 15 years ago. We have about 55 trades guys in the field and tradespeople in all different sectors. We're really passionate about the energy sector. We're really passionate about taking projects and thinking, okay, how do we repurpose buildings? How do we incorporate new technologies into buildings? Because there's I heard a lot of people talking early in the evening about projects that have gone on, school repurposings, church repurposings, and this is just that on a major scale with a big impact. So we're trying to figure out, and Robert and I have been kind of banging our heads against the wall over the last 6 months, just sort of, how do we get through this? No more information about what we do and the different services we do, and why I'm up here. There's constraints. There's constraints, and lots of people kind of know people with solar, people that are going through things and going through different programs. There's constraints on grid capacity, on infrastructure. It's been a roller coaster, to say the least, sort of here in Ontario, as to how we're integrating some of these technologies in these products. So what we want to talk about here is some of the things that are going forward. So what got Robert and I talking is like, okay, there's some funding coming. We're getting back, the province is getting back behind this, federal's getting back behind this. They've started to see they need to drive economic, turnaround through the energy sector. These are some of the things that we have access to today. And that sort of got our wheels turning on, well, what would that look like if we had today's funding, today's programs through the Save on Energy, through the clean technology incentives, the federal investment tax credits. What would that look like for our facility if we were able to have that? So that got us kind of spinning on the different ways we could get some funding out of this. What would it look like for operational savings and for doing that? So this is giving you a kind of a base case on if the building was developed as you see in the renderings. We spent a lot of time trying to map out and what could we get on it for solar? What could we feasibly produce with it on the roof space that we have available? Not taking into consideration a lot of some of the other facades and paneling that we could also get some power out of, and parking areas. This is based on just kind of the roof space that we could cost effectively use. So you can see the numbers up there of what we could build on the building, yielding almost just about 800 kilowatt hours a year. Without having load studies, without knowing the full use case of the facility, that's a pretty good number of saying that we could probably zero out the bulk of the power being used from the businesses that we know and the use case that the building could be used for now, and potentially netting out the building on the power side. So there's two different programs here. Net metering, that's going to offset it. So we have to have load. Net metering is offsetting your consumption. So the challenge we have with the building in its current state is we don't have load. So right now the programs are all based around having load in the facility, and the incentives are based around offsetting the load in the facility. And basically it's a challenge because our electricity rate's only 14, 15 cents. So our electricity rates, we're way behind here in Ontario. I know we all think we pay a lot for power, but we're really not. We're quite a bit behind global average on electricity, and it becomes a political bargaining tool, and they're keeping the rates down because they want to win the next election. And it's really hurting us because it's really killing us because we're not moving forward with grid infrastructure upgrades and capacity. But that's sort of our state that we're in right now is the low electricity rates, and we need load in the building. But that's what net metering is. So if today, let's pretend that the building's there and we actually have a net metering program and we have load in the building and we would offset that load at the 800 kilowatts. This is what a net metering complete offset would look like at 14 cents a kilowatt hour in today's dollars. It's between 12 and 13 years, which we've been selling the last 5 years to our agricultural customers and commercial customers. They have long-term vision. They understand electricity rates are going to go up. They understand that payback is going to get quicker because the system's going to last for 30, 40 years without very little maintenance. Now, some of the other incentives that come into play are yep.
What happens after 13 and a half years? It's free.
Yeah, you own it. Yeah, it's free power. You're offsetting the consumption of that. So in 13 years, you're going to be paying 30 cents a kilowatt hour or whatever our hydro rates are. So that there moving forward, you have zero operating costs for your power of that building. 100% it makes sense. And a lot of businesses are doing this just based on the net metering program, based on offset. Because the life cycle of the equipment is so long. You do an inverter change out at maybe year 15 is usually what we carry in the financials. That these financials have an inverter replacement. That's the only working component of a solar system, converting the DC power from the roof to the AC grid power and putting it onto the grid. That inverter needs a replacement around year 15. Other than that, the degradation on these panels and the degradation on the actual modules, the solar modules, is less than 1% per year in our cool climate. The only thing that degrades the modules is heat. So we're at, somewhere around 0.5% loss year over year. So in 20 years, you're still operating at 90% efficiency as far as the panels go. And we have lots of systems out there. So we have, 15, 20 years of data now from existing systems that are running in our climate. So these are the two programs. So now we get into load displacement. That's where the numbers get really interesting and the payback comes down, because we are going to have quite a bit of load at this facility and we only have so much roof space. So this is another option that could be, we're just doing load displacement. More of a complicated incentive. It's kind of a knee-jerk reaction from the province to say, well, we have grid constraints. We don't want people to put too much power on there because we don't have our grid upgraded. But how do we still incentivize people to do some solar? They've come up with this load displacement, which works really well for manufacturing clients that have very little roof space and a huge load. They don't even notice it. All the power goes back into their facility and they don't push anything out to the grid. And they're getting incentivized very heavily by the Save on Energy program right now at $860 a kilowatt. So that's another thing that comes into play. And you can stack these grants, the investment tax credits and the load displacement funding. That's where you get the payback down where we're at now. We don't know what's going to happen. We know the investment tax credits are going to be around for a while. We don't know what Save-On is going to do with their incentives. But just as today, if the building was there, this is the types of incentives and programs that are coming and going right now that we'd be able to take advantage of to drastically reduce the operating cost of the building and build up a surplus as we're building out the phases of the building. This is why I think it's of interest. We're going to save the questions till the end because that usually, yes. Okay. That's basically what I wanted to put out in front of everybody. I wanted you to see the numbers. I wanted you to see why Robert's so passionate about the sustainability piece of this project, because it fits in nicely with how everything's going. And he's done a really good job kind of incorporating how those panels would actually go on the roof and be adapted into the building structure. So, the weight of the system is it's less than 4 pounds per square foot. So we have lots of flexibility there for the loading and to incorporate into the structural design too. So. Oh yeah, well, yeah, there's so much more detail we can go into this, but it just so happens we're doing a full presentation on a lot of the incentives and existing fit systems and how they're transferring into new contracts and how municipalities are handling some of this. So we're covering this in great detail. We're bringing out the utilities, engineering firms, Festival Hydro will be there, and Nova Power will be there, and a couple engineering groups. Will be at this event. So if anybody's interested to learn more about what's all going on and some of the things that are happening in that world, you can scan that QR code and you're welcome to come out. So, okay, thanks.
Thanks, Luke. So I don't know what our time's at. We've got a couple more things happening. That's why we're leaving the questions till the end. And if you want to go, go. Trying to keep it interesting, folks. Yeah, Luke, you can leave if you want so you escape all the questions. So update on the proposed site plan. It's basically, there it is, but I'm going to just talk. Last time we talked about it, I'm going to just run it by again. Part of this plan is, well, while you're at it, that was the comment I made. So while you're at it, this one doesn't show George Street coming into the site across from the Stratford Street extension. George Street. George Street's supposed to run right through in between Chocolate Bars and the police station on that slide. We added a off ramp at St. Patrick going southbound on Downey. The idea is to try to have traffic flow around the site easily. The reason Downey Street's closed in front of the Y is to eliminate a 5-point intersection where Waterloo, Downey, Falstaff, and the entrance to the site meet. It'd just be a nightmare. It's sort of a nightmare anyways at that intersection, especially with people coming in and out of the Y parking lot. So that was the main reason why Downey was closed. But I've set it up that it's pretty smooth traveling. Odds are, and traffic engineers have to review all of this, Douro, Waterloo, that intersection will likely be a traffic lit intersection, as well as it's a debate whether the entrance to the site, but I'm thinking yes. And transit may have some sort of traffic control there, but it would all be coordinated with Brunswick, Albert, and Ontario. So they're synchronized, and Lakeside, so that there's synchronization. Once you get a green, you got a green right out till Foodland. It also provides some extra crosswalks that we don't have on Downey Street right now, because if you want to cross Downey Street legally and you're at the Bank of Montreal, you either go towards Ontario and cross there, but your other crosswalk is at Bridges Street. This sort of shortens that path. So that's it with the streets. And then this is details on the site plan and how many cars we have. We have 999 parking spaces now. The interior dropped a little bit. So there's the numbers. Look at it on the website if you want more detail. So another guest speaker, we're going to have people from Tremco speak about how to insulate and reface to reflect the original facade. So I'm bringing up Matt and Brooke.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Robert, appreciate you inviting us out here so we could try and shed some light on how we're going to work on protecting the structure once the money's invested into it. So quick background we'll get into here. This is just briefly what we're going to cover. So we're going to explain why Robert brought us in, who we are, what we specialize in, and how we can help you guys with protecting such a big investment in the community and the heritage. And then we'll just quickly cover how we're going to stand behind that as well, assuming that we were working through the project with the community on this. Obviously, a project like this is a big investment for you guys, both from a heritage protection standpoint as well as financially. One of the most important things that protects that structure is what we put on the outside of it to control the elements and make sure that what we're doing in the inside isn't escaping and being wasted energy to the outdoors. Quick history of Tremco. We were founded in 1928. Unfortunately, down in the States. Apologize for that. We were opened up in our Canadian division. We opened a factory up on Wicksteed Ave in Toronto in 1972. That plant still operates to this day. Our Canadian division has over 2,000 employees still, very active from coast to coast here. We started as a roofing company, but that has very rapidly over the years developed into a full building envelope, is what we call it, manufacturing group with well over 15 different brands that function under Tremco or through our partners and sister companies, as well as a variety of different scopes of construction cover, which we'll touch on in a bit. Our specialty is developed into how do we restore buildings to a more energy efficient, modern day approach from a building code perspective, while retaining things like the heritage that you guys are very much in care about in this situation. We do that by, we've done that, I should say, by developing products that are designed for all six sides of the building, the six sides being the four walls, the roof, and the foundation. What we specialize in is, because we manufacture products for all of those areas, we're able to integrate them all together, test them, make sure that they're going to function as a whole system, versus bringing in other manufacturers that we don't know what those compatibilities are. So it's a much more robust and guaranteed approach when we're looking at protecting the bones of the building. This is just a quick visual to kind of explain on your guy, the proposal we're looking at here as to how that would integrate into this. Because the building's already there, there's not as much on the foundation side, but it's also sitting at a high point in the community. So the risk of water intrusion from below is quite low. Like I mentioned, you are not going to probably get through this before I click off of it, but it's just a quick explanation of just the vast array of different levels of construction that we touch when we look at the different work that happens on buildings from a new construction or retrofit perspective. So you can see it's a very extensive list that we cover. So obviously the big question that keeps coming up is how do we, Robert's done a great job of visualizing this, but how do we take this in our current state back to restoring the legacy that you guys are looking to protect and that you care about? That is done by reimagining this with a modern materials approach and tying that into a replication essentially of what the building used to look like. So we're going to rewrap the building with insulating products that we can then put a engineered finish system on to replicate that old brick style look and restore that building back to what it used to look like while improving the performance of it. Very quickly here, I'll pass this over to Brooke. He's more of our panelized expert, so we'll let him introduce kind of how that happens, just to give you a quick overview of that.
Yeah, thanks everybody. So the way that we sort of visualize sort of restoring the legacy, particularly the aesthetic legacy at the same time as sort of wrapping a nice warm sweater around the building and waterproofing it significantly beyond its initial state is by prefabricated panelization. Like that seems to be the adequate solution for basically conserving the embodied energy that's already existing in the building, right? That we could leverage without tearing down any of these sort of the foundational structures of it. At the same time as restoring the aesthetic that, is reflective of sort of the legacy ideals of this project, right? So what prefabrication sort of does and what the value propositions that's tied to them can kind of be tied into, I would call these the sort of 8 key components. And then over the next hour or so, I will cover each of them in turn. That was a joke. Scarier is that I might have to do it in the next 7 minutes or so. So yeah, I mean, everything comes back to this concept of EIFS and, what the hell is EIFS? So I'll be really quickly on this. Basically what it's an acronym for is exterior insulated and finished systems. It's all there in the acronym, right? So it's basically a system that functions as waterproofing, insulation, and finish all in one system, right? I can go on for hours and sort of the details that are associated with the various components, but I'll spare you that. You could go to the party next door if. Okay, so basically, Robert and I have been talking extensively about what to do with every elevation, and then what to do with the addition as it ties into EIFS and then prefabricated EIFS, right? So how do we turn the east elevation from this into this? The south and north elevations, which kind of mirror each other from this into this, and then the west elevation from this into this. So these particular elevations already have the embodied energy in them. So we want to just essentially waterproof them, right? And then insulate them so that we're maximizing on, the R value and the energy consumption or lack thereof as we move into modernizing the structure, right? So for those specific elevations, we have what we call a Federlight panel, which is essentially, we joke about it, we call it EIFS on a stick in our world, right? So effectively, these are prefabricated panels that have metal extrusions that run through them that provide structural stability, but also they give us the ability to hang them and mechanically fasten them onto the existing structure, right? Via a mounting rail. And it's hard for me because I can't really point at it, but you can see a little hook that's on that detail there on your right, that hooks on the mounting rail that we would supply. Thanks, Robert. Right? And I cannot overemphasize the significance of that little hook. And the reason why I say that is because that's what allows us to mechanically fasten the insulation systems onto the wall, right? The existing wall, without having to rely on sort of cementitious adhesives and things like that that wouldn't function in winter environments, right? So we can just turbocharge the speed of the construction, right, of the overclad, but at the same time, we eliminate the entire cost that's associated with heating and hoarding, which is huge, right? I'm not sure if there's any construction people in this room, but if you ever have considered heating and hoarding costs, they can be multi-million-dollar costs that are tied to a construction project, particularly like a restoration project, right? So that just eliminates that altogether, eliminates all kinds of crazy costs tied to scaffolding, eliminates wild costs tied to having specialty trades that would install these materials otherwise, right? Anybody who's handy with a chalk line and a level can install this product, really, yeah. So what we propose, and this maybe is the more exciting thing for people in the room, is like aesthetically, we can achieve anything that you want in that combined system, the insulation, the waterproofing, and the finish, right? And just spitballing on some types of sort of finishes that might be helpful for sort of restoring the legacy sort of aesthetics of the project is we have down here, what is our limestone product, right? We can produce that. We might need to change sort of the shading or things like that, but we could achieve whatever aesthetic you want. And we are highly confident that we could restore, some of the original vibe of the aesthetic that, might be meaningful for the community, right? The next element is the addition, of course, right? Which is a bit of a side thing. It's a new structure. So we propose doing something similar, but it would be an eave system that would combine the structural steel components into it, right? And one nice thing about this, particular for residents that might occupy the building, is that you have insulation on the exterior, but you could also incorporate batten insulation on the interior and have on our value, I'm not sure if that means much to anybody in this room, but of, up to 50, 60, which is within the passive house kind of range for this municipality, right? Which is really nice. So basically it's the same principle, exterior insulation, finish, all built into those styles of panels. These are built in factory where our partner fabricators construct these steel structures. Then they add a sheathing component with a air and water vapor barrier on there. And then they put their insulation on top of it. And then it's a cementitious encapsulation of that insulation. And then the finish, right? Which again, can be whatever you desire, okay? And then installation is really just a matter of craning the structures into whatever skeleton that's built in advance, right? Again, you eliminate heating and hoarding, all the costs associated with that. You eliminate the management of a ton of different trades, all the costs associated with, bringing in scaffolding or, cranes or whatever from all of those different trades. And that's really it. This is sort of an example of a project which was, trying to do a sort of a similar legacy style thing. And it just highlights the versatility of the aesthetics that we can achieve, whether it's brick or you see there on the bottom left, which is like a limestone finish, right? Just to wrap it all up, so much of what we talked about right now has been contained in such a small period. There's so much that we can do for this project that we're not seeing. Right now we're focusing on the aesthetic and the building envelope, but once we incorporate all the elements of the Tremco system, we can embody this in one warranty, one point of contact, one system with all the integrated components that are tested together. Yeah, and that's more or less it. We're really excited to be involved in this project. I mean, not just because it fits sort of everything we do like a glove, but because it's like such a meaningful, project for your community. So yeah, we're looking forward to being involved.
You have to love the line, the power of one. So phasing, the project's phased. We talked about that last time. The phasing has changed from numbers to letters for flexibility so any phase can happen at any time. M, of course, is for the Mackenzie Street end. The Y is for the Y end. The police, P is for the refurb of the Y. S is the Stratford Street portion, which includes the library and Argyle, similar, and how these uses and when they take place is outlined here. It's basically, when can you get the money? So if the city decides, yes, we'll take the Y, well, then the Y will move forward and move with it. Then if we can get the locomotive here, well, then maybe move with that end of the building. And if the library has their funds, they can do their part. So you might see it all happen, or it can happen in stages. The key is the parking garage will come first. So the first part of the project is, of course, rehabilitate the building. And these are just showing floor plans and roof plans. And then this one's showing skylights. We've reduced the amount of skylighting. It's only in the center. Well, you'll see it later. We'll get into more detail. So the first thing we do, we build the parking level and the concourse level, lower the roof of the annex. Then this is the demolition plan. Had to draw these drawings for the guys to give us prices. And the reason he went into that kind of detail was because to get a tight number, you want more detail. So we've more or less figured out how to build this building. And that all takes time and obviously money. This is the second level of the parking deck, and that's the concourse level. So the idea is, when this is finished, it's a big open room on the third story with two parking levels below it, one at grade, one on the second floor, and we have this space that's ready to move into. Now, I don't have all their numbers yet. We will be putting out the numbers for each phase, high-level estimates, so you sort of have an idea of where we're going. Locomotive phase, we put in the entrance at the Mackenzie Street end in there in blue in the top right corner. Second level, again, we've got exit stairwells, it's access to that parking level via the elevator. And then, of course, the locomotive space. This would be the first escalator in the city of Stratford if it happens. But it makes sense because an escalator is the fastest way to move people between two floors. That's why you see them. Washroom for the building is there as well, that rectangle in the middle of the hallway. And we didn't continue through. We didn't cross over Argyle. We have an exit at the end of that run because the idea is you come up, look at the locomotive. Maybe somebody will take some space, put in a cafe or whatever, but it's allowing the first step. Skylighting changed. We used to have a whole roof of light. The original scheme I pulled back to cut costs. Where we have the original skylighting is where it was in the day in this portion of the building. The economics of that were unbelievable. So the blue shows the parts of the building that are being affected by this. Second phase is the Argyle end. So the Argyle entrance comes in. And this is when the Arts Collective comes in and uses that portion of the building, which you see developed there with the theater space, the community hub or the community halls developed. We can hold 200 in the hall. This is tables and chairs. And if you include the GTR or the locomotive, you have another 100. So 300 people are in there. And we've set it up that the walls, we have an acoustic wall behind the stage for acoustical performance of that space, but there's a movable wall behind it so that you can move it away and you can sit in the theater and look right through to the locomotive is the idea. There's the upper level showing the seating in the upper portions. There's the skylighting of the roof at that point. And this is the dark skylights are noting the new ones. So the new skylighting in the concourse level, I originally had it the full width of the full 20 feet of the concourse. Well, let's cut that cost in half, and now we have 10 feet of the concourse covered, which is more than enough adequate light. But the idea is that they reuse that facility. Again, there's the section of the building that's being developed for the Argyle phase. Stratford Street entrance and the central portion of the concourse. I don't know if Dean noticed what the name of the concourse is. I called it the Dean Robinson Concourse because, yeah, let's hear it. Now, if the city fathers agree to that, maybe it'll happen, but Dean definitely deserves some recognition for his time and effort and the resources. The book, Railway Stratford, which he wrote, when I showed that to Mike Pond of the engineering group, he goes, I don't believe it. You've got photos of this thing when it's being built? This is incredible. And actually, I was going to do it today, but ran out of time. I actually found drawings of the building that I had in 1995, but I don't have the floor plan. I have cross sections. I've got details of the floor slab. I know how thick that floor is. I just don't know where it's that thick. Continuing with, so parking, of course, didn't change. We just that just shows the entrance now on the outside of the screen. My left, your right. And then the development of the daycare, the library, and across the hall from the library, that rectangle, I'm thinking may be a great spot for a municipally managed medical clinic that anybody that doesn't have a doc after hours into. So the idea is you can grow into other parts of the building, and it's already been cleaned for you. This is the second level. There's nothing on the second level of the Y. It's a full 20-foot space. You could squeeze in something, but we'll let the architects of the Y figure that out. This is the concourse level where you can enter the Y from the concourse, but it's also the path that leads you over to the apartment building. So if you live in the apartment building, you can go down to the concourse level, walk through the pool space, through glass walled space that you can, if you're a grandma and you have kids in there, grandkids in the pool, you can be up there looking at the pool without being on the pool deck. But it's also a way to get people to and from the apartment building to the concourse. And then this is showing the level. You notice the section closest to the skylight of the pool is, I call them dark rooms, because there's no windows there, because you're looking at the structure of the roof. And on those levels, we have one-bedroom apartments. And that's one bedrooms as well, facing north, which is a downtown view, which is still a great view. Then the two-bedroom apartments show up. Now we can look over the roof on the south, and then the rooftop with the lines that aren't dark are the areas of solar panels. So the roof's basically covered with solar panels, except for the last 10 feet of the roof near the eave, so that snow can slide off the roof, the panel, hit the roof, slow down. And then we also have snow guards to catch it if the roof can't catch the slide. And there's the where the elevation is of it. So the police station, and this is the part of the site where we develop Downey Street now. If the police station go in there, this is when we transform that. But when we transform the intersection, that again is up to the city. And again, a traffic consultant will be required for that. And there's the final site plan. You know where we're going. We're near the end, final elevations. So the building's the solution, not the problem. The site, the cost of remediation is uncertain. The cost to make it attractive to a developer is more than twice the cost of comparable properties. And if the site is sold, the loss is real. And to even sell it, we're going to be eating money. The building, the engineer's estimate to rehabilitate it was 12.6 million with an asterisk. The value of the structure, 46. Environmental engineer confirmed that. Okay, we talked about that last time. Building the community facilities within the GTR building and repurposing the one in the police headquarters is key to the win for this. It reduces the number of city buildings and retains a significant heritage structure. And as Dean said, and I'll repeat it again, it was the heartbeat of the city. Basically said that. See, a little late, missed that slide. So there's our before and afters. And it's up to you now. It's up to this group. Anybody that likes this project or thinks it has, makes some sense, let's encourage the city to check it. We're checking everything else, but the building, come on. How do you miss something that big? Look at it, folks. Look at it. Because there's a lot of potential there. This just got to set our minds to it. Sure, it's going to cost money, but it's not that much more, if any, more than building brand new. And guess what? It's taken care of. It's done. We're finished with it. It's a place we can all use. And like I said earlier, this is our building. Tourists may show up and check out the train, but it's our building. Questions? Any questions? Barb, do you want to take the mic and go roaming? Thank you for hanging around. I don't know what our time was. What was it? 2 hours?
8:37.
Oh, not bad. Now we're in 37 minutes.
I've got a question. Two questions.
Sure, I'm looking lost.
How much time have you spent on this personally, and what the hell keeps you going?
Well, I've got a good wife. She's here tonight. I've got great staff, and that's key. But it's also the love for the building. I've been in love with that building for years, going by it as a kid, going to Sunday school, seeing the trains there as a little boy. Very fascinated by the building. And if I speak anymore, I'll get emotional.
He has about 7 months into creating what you've seen today. So
Yeah,
tremendous investment by him, his passion for the community, obviously everybody can see here. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty proud to call him my friend. Anyways,
Yeah,
I
well,
had
we
to
have-
get that in.
About my staff checked it at the end of December, and we've got another month and change on top of that. So we were over 600 hours. I was over 600 hours of billable time on it, and I've employed, or even Barb's such a great friend as I hired her son this summer. But and he spent a month on it, and then Victoria was here tonight. She's been the one crunching out the drawings for me. Next question.
Oh,
Lauren.
Rob, I have waited for 87 years living in this city to hopefully we can see a project go ahead. I've seen all the plans in that. I like what I see. It's a community center, and it asks, as far as I'm concerned, it answers every question that this community has asked. So I ask everyone in this room, with the enthusiasm so far with the 2 meetings, let's get behind Rob and make this happen.
Yeah. Like, I guess to answer that question, why do I do it? So I can get you to do it. I want you to have the passion. Everybody wants it. Everybody talks about it. I said, let's do something. I have the ability as an architect. I've got that privilege to do this. And I'm sharing my 40 years with you.
I think it was Jane Marie said we actually need to do an emailing to all members of council. If everybody did that right into their council to support it, to look at it, to truly look at all the aspects, Robert, you said. So we'll probably send something out later on. We have most of your emails, I hope, and I think we have to get on it. If not, I know what's going to happen, and it will be heartbreaking. This gentleman.
I was wondering how complicated how much would have to be rezoned for the apartment building? And how is the library and the police department going to feel about being put on contaminated land?
Okay. The building is clean. The parking lot is clean. It's clean enough for a parking lot. If you want to put residential there, we've got an issue. But the apartment building, like I said, it's remediated site. That land's remediated. The building interiors, the reason we have parking on the first and second floor, but more on the first floor, is that the ventilation system of the parking garage takes any vapors that are coming through the slab takes them away. The other thing we're doing is that we're actually pouring over the existing slab to create slopes for the parking garage. And when you come in at the entrances, you'll be 10 inches above, I'm designing it obviously for pricing, but there's a ventilation layer below between the 2 slabs. So the existing slab, you cover up with washed stone with big O duct. It ventilates it to the exterior, and there's detection on it all the time to determine how bad it is. It's how you manage radon. So every building from this point forward in the province of Ontario has to do that in the basements now. So it's there. You're not going to get sick by it. That's the big rule. And the police station, the Y isn't dirty from what I know. And the parking lot was never part of the rail lands. That was always part of the reason it's on an angle, that parking lot. Why is it on an angle? That's where the siding was. And as a child, in the car going down St. Patrick Street, all the locomotives were lined up there, ready to be scrapped. And you know, I told that story last time, but again, that image is so vivid in my mind. So from that fence in can be dirty. And guess where the dirtiest spot in the site was when we were doing it in 95, where the university sits. And that's why that hole was such a big hole. And even at the buses. And the thing is, if you build new, you got to clean it up. If it's under the building, you only have to, anything you take out, you have to manage. So all of our foundations inside the building, we cut out a floor slab, 3 feet by 3 feet or 5 by 5, depending on the loads on it. We dial in helical piers and we set then you cap it like, and they only need 2 feet, 16 inches to 2 feet for the cap footing with rebar in it. And then we set our precast columns on top of that for the parking garage. So the parking garage is all precast concrete. That's why Stubby's is up there. And then poured concrete or cast in place concrete is where the locomotive sits. And somebody said, oh, it's a lot of money. You got to put in cast in place concrete. Yes, we do. But guess what? We got a locomotive in the building and it's the flagship of the building and it should be in the building. Did I answer the question? Okay.
Anybody else?
There's the lady
Questions?
over.
Give me a moment. Oh, you don't?
Well, people listening to it at home may. So Barb, send it to them.
Does, that's right.
I guess, first of all, I'd like
Just-
okay.
There you go.
See, I'm going to forget the damn question. Thank you. The time that you've spent is mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing to you and the team and, you know, everyone so far. But you've got a lot of interest and you've done a lot of legwork. So have you reached out to any possible project managers?
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you have any
We already know,
interest?
like, I asked
Okay.
Mike to be here tonight from RJC. His company
RJ.
does project management services. He's the structural engineer that
Okay,
did the analysis in 2012. His company does curtain wall design,
okay,
parking garage design. Gee, we got
Okay.
those two. Building envelope design, where he would be working with people at Tremco for the cladding systems. So his firm has a lot of in-house that does that, and they do project management services. In fact, he's the one that gave me that outline where I was describing project management services. So you
Okay,
can see
awesome.
with that, they're a very above board, very professional group.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'd hire him in a heartbeat, especially with the knowledge he has of this building, where they did tensile testing of the steel structure that's in the building.
okay. With the roof, when it goes on, can you put the solar panel, how quickly can you put the solar on?
Right after we have the roof on. So
Okay,
the
it can be
roofing, so the
generating
roof,
money, income?
Smith Pete Roofing's up there. They're my team that's providing the roofing estimate. And in that estimate, I asked for curbs, 6-inch by 6-inch curbs, and then you put that on, waiting for the solar panel framing to show up. Luke's team secures their framing to those curbs. It's off the roofs to prevent leaking. That's the whole reason it's raised. And then sets the solar panels on top of that. So it's waiting to go. So when it's finished, there'll be all these curbs on the roof waiting for future solar panels. And like he said, the idea is we don't get any money if we make electricity for others. It's out the window. So we're only going to add solar panels as the building grows. And then we burn or we use that electricity ourselves. So we're looking at an electrified building, heat pumps, will likely be air-to-air heat pumps, even though the engineer was debating on that. That's Calidus Engineering, because typically you would do a building like this with a chiller boiler system, but the chiller's electrically operated, and the boiler, you can get electric boilers now, and they make them in Stratford at Cleaver Brooks.
Right, right. That could change really quickly today with the new mandate that's pushing through with the EV cars. Because I know we were all
I missed
told.
the story. I was working on this.
Yeah, I know you've been busy, but it's, you know, it revolves pretty quickly on what the government is doing. So it's like, you know, that could change in 2 months, that you can make money stand
Yes,
taking it back to
as
the
that's what
grid,
Luke
right?
was indicating. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been fun. I'm in this, I see this building in my head. I'm walking through it. When I drive by, I see it, right? And I'm trying to give you that feeling. Oh, I thought you were leaving.
Hell, no, not yet. Not that I want to dig up any old ruins or anything like that, but would there be possibility room in this new facility for the bingo hall?
Sure. Like I have so the 200 seat community hub, because they're not smoking in those building rooms anymore, but the 200 seat, and it's 200 seating non-fixed tables and chairs, which is bingo. Okay. And if you have a real big tournament, you can open up the movable wall and have the locomotive in the room with you as well. And have the bingo collar right beside those 6-foot high wheels that are on that locomotive. So yes.
Cool.
See, this is how the building can take a hit. He threw something at me. Yes, we can do it.
Anybody else? Yep. Who had their hand up? Oh.
Oh, Dave. My buddy at Home Hardware.
Thanks a lot for this, Rob. I'll say that. But for this to work, we've got to monitor our elected officials. There's been too many backroom deals around here and too many sitting on their hands. If it wasn't for enough people, including me, that stood up to Matheson and his buddies.
Okay, we're not going to make this political, Dave.
I know, but it's got to be done.
Oh, yeah,
If
like
it
that's
wasn't-
up to you now to get council to move on this.
If,
And
but
a
if it
counselor
wasn't
just
for-
walked
if
in.
It
Hi,
wasn't for
Giza.
people standing up to City Hall, our City Hall would be gone.
Yep,
And yeah.
don't get me going on that one. I'm trying to be
would've been-
nice.
And then we named a street after the mayor that wanted to tear it down. And then, thank God we got rid of, enough people stood up against that glass factory. I won't say where it was from.
Yeah,
But
anyways,
we have to monitor the elected officials more. You know,
well, this is the year 26, so in October, vote wisely.
yeah, but that's what we have to do.
And tonight, Giza just walked in. I guess there was something happening at council.
He was here almost all night. He wa-
Okay, I
he
just
stepped
saw him
out.
come in the door. Sorry, Giza.
Rob, is there a major objection? I mean, the city, for instance, I read in the papers, all the work that was done by people, and there was some discussion of tearing the whole thing down. One of the councilors argued strenuously to take it all down, and then think somebody wanted to leave a bit, and so on and so forth. Is there any consensus, or are you getting people that seem to have some reasonable smarts that come to you and say, this is why it isn't going to work? Like, are you getting objections in that area?
No,
Thrown
I'm
at
waiting
you.
for that person. Like, I'm out there.
Yeah,
I'm on Main Street, walk in the door, call to make sure I'm there.
yeah.
And I'm looking for that challenge. Like I said in the paper, I'm looking for the challenge. What am I missing? What is wrong with this? Why
Yeah.
won't it work?
Yeah.
I don't know. My head's telling me it's looking pretty good. And I have a
Yeah.
fellow architect here, John from Blythe. John, does it make some sense? John Rutledge from Blythe, yeah.
Is
So
there
thanks,
anybody
John.
here from the city tonight?
Giza, I invited staff, I invited council and key staff through the CAO.
But are they here?
Giza came.
Oh, okay. All
But
right.
again, it's public if you're interested in it, and it's sort of
Well,
hot, it's a
I'm
hot
just
button
a-
item.
I'm disappointed that really more people from City Hall aren't here. They should at least be looking it over and then start going from there.
Yeah, but City Hall's been great. Like, staff have been really cooperative with me. Like,
Yeah.
I've met with Director of Infrastructure, Director of Community Services,
Yeah.
Emily, Andre, speak with him regularly. I'm quite open with them about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. And again, I'm totally independent of the city. And I'm just trying to work with us
Yeah.
to make this happen, and you've got to tell them
Mhm.
that
Okay.
it frustrates me. You're spending all this time and money
Yeah.
figuring out what to do with the site.
Yeah.
But have you spent any money on trying
Okay.
to figure out what to do with the building?
You say
Because the
these
building's
people,
the solution,
yeah,
not the problem.
Rob, you're saying that these people are cooperating. What does council and the mayor tell you?
Giza is very supportive. Can I say that, Giza? Okay. And I haven't had I do meet, I have breakfast or lunch with the counselors. And, you know, they're not saying no. I point blank Martin and said, okay, Martin, am I just wasting my time? And he goes, well, no, it's good to see ideas for the site, and I encourage you to keep that up. So that's what I'm doing. So, you know, give them all the evidence. And like I said, I want to lay it out. Here it is. Take it to your people, analyze it, and tell me, this is what I don't like sometimes when building department's good. I can't knock them, but often, you know, you want to know, why is it wrong? Why isn't it approved? Right. And how do we learn? Like, it's like your parents saying to you, nope, you can't do it. Why? Because I told you so. Wrong. Tell us why. Help us learn how you make decisions. So we know when we go in if it's going to be a no or no, a yes or no. And again, we have a better understanding of how to present the case if we know how decisions are made.
I have a question from her first. Yep. Can they just go ahead and sell it?
Sell it?
Yeah, like, is there?
Well, they could, but.
That's what I'm saying, like, can this just, with all this talking
But
that we're doing,
so sell it for what price, Laura?
whatever, I'm just saying, like, can it happen without us really knowing about it? Like,
Well,
it
they
just
more or less bought it that way.
right. So I'm just saying, like, how can
And
we
they bought it
stop
with the
that?
parking lot fund, but somebody, like I said, somebody's got to take responsibility for the 27 million in it and to
Right.
just say, here you go, developer, for $500,000.
Well, I love all that, but I'm just saying, if they've got the power and they can just, one day we hear, reading the paper, oh, we've got a deal going down. I
Closed
just,
session of council is when
Yeah.
they deal with real estate.
yeah.
Barbara No More, she was in that world in her day.
I was a counselor for the region.
Person in front of Laura.
Yes. Here we go.
Hi there. Thank you very much for your vision, the art of the possible. I guess the question I have, and you spoke earlier about the project management aspect of it, and I think there's a lot of unknowns in that little package of work, the project management. And what I'm trying to understand is that the stumbling block with the city, that they're not interested in bringing on a project manager to do some of the due diligence to be better informed. And I'm worried about, with all projects, there's a bunch of moving parts. And I'm hearing that they want to relocate the police station to the south of the city, and your vision has the police station as part of this complex. And I don't know what the timelines are to that commitment to move to the south and the work that you're trying to do here to be better informed. Are there not some dependencies with your project to, like?
Well, it's interesting. The new police station, to me, has sort of been more a newer topic because it didn't come through during any of the ad hoc meetings.
Yeah.
You know, good facility management, that's what it is important to be efficient with what buildings you have in your system. So large companies track all the square footage they have and move people around to consolidate and then sell off buildings in some cases. I don't see a lot of that happening with the city, you know, and we do have an asset here. And the timing of it. The police right now have rented other facilities at this time where they're sort of spread out. They'd like to get back under one roof. But if this moves forward, and like my goal was by the bicentennial of 2032, 6 years from now, the police can wait 3 or 4 years so that the Y's developed at the GTR. After they move, then boom, you can do the Y. There's another year or so. 2, there's 4, you might be able to, you know, it'll be done by 2032. So, but it's key. If they go, this is like, I don't know who's going to buy the Y. And the Y then will obviously stay where they are. It'll expand there and all that money's going there versus into a building we'd like to get cleaned up. And that's the move forward. You said something else and I was trying to be polite and not interrupt. What was your first question? Comment.
The stumbling block for the project management.
Oh, the project management side. Project management side, read the detail on that. The city wants a developer. They think the developer is the solution. And I'm going, no. If you have the money, if you have the land, if you have the use, you don't need a developer, because that's what the developer brings to the table. We have all that. So what does the developer get after they have those three? They get a project manager. That's what you need to do. And they're afraid to be a developer, but why? They are already a developer. They buy farmland, service it, and sell it as industrial sites, right? They developed the rec complex. They didn't hire a developer to develop it, because as soon as you hire the developer, 10 to 15% of the cost goes into the developer's pocket, right? So I'm trying to avoid that cost. I love developers. They hire me, right? So I'm not knocking them. You have to make money. But they take a risk. Well, what's the risk here? The risk is $27 million. We've got a risk right now, and you don't want to blow that. Like, to me, as a taxpayer, that's maybe why I'm fighting this. I don't want to see us eating 27 million bucks that we have in it. Now, some will say, oh, there's 10 million towards university. That was a good cause. And it was. But did we get a return on investment for 10 million? Because they were supposed to develop 8 acres of that site.
Do you have a sense of the project management cost? Like, is it 100,000, 200,000, and an estimated timeline?
Well, in the big picture, and
answers?
that's it. I'm sorry, I don't have a bottom line for the whole project.
Yeah.
But this is a big project. And so I was talking to Mike today about just fees for architects, like the A&E guys. And he's saying 3 to 4% of construction cost for all in, for a project this big. It can be higher in a smaller project. And then to do the demolition side or the rehabilitation side, the numbers would be maybe 1.5–2% of construction costs. So budgets anywhere from 2 million to 4 million. So what's 2% of 2 million? For $40,000. Yeah, $40,000. So yeah, and that's like, in our world, but we have a lot of responsibility for the money we make, right?
Rob, could you just let everybody know, because the square footage, because your
Oh, of
proposed
the total building area?
the total
floor?
building area that you've been discussing with at the police station, and then also tell the people here the property that they were considering and how big that is. I know the numbers. I'm just trying to get you to say that.
Well, no, you're going back to the why. The
why they needed.
Yeah, so the Y has, if you put a floor in the gym to make it a 2-story, like 2-level space instead of 1-level space, putting that floor in, the Y has 50,000 square feet in it. The police are looking for a building of 50,000 square feet. Scotiabank building has 100,000 square feet. So the police roll in there, they have 50,000 square feet of vacant space. Who joins the police, right? Who's their neighbor going to be? Some people say, oh, the court should go there. Okay, really? Out there in the middle of nowhere, basically? Sorry, people that live in the neighborhood, but it's not downtown where you have shops or you can go. Lawyers love having a meal with their client before a court hearing. Downtown is the best spot for the courts. I see if the police move into that building, the court's rolling in to the first floor, at least offices of lawyers. And in the basement, you might have a legal firm in there. But the city's also looking for development with AI and IT. They have to expand their IT division, put it in the basement of the police station. Now, one of the arguments for having it out at Scotiabank, they already have, fiber optics out there. But why shouldn't we have that downtown as well? Like, a lot of people are downtown, so bring in fiber optics into the core. We're the smart city, and we have, I think we have some connection with Quadro, who's right into that world. So leave the courts downtown. There's prison, there's already jails there to holding cells, and the police station's just a block away. And the courts aren't in there anymore. So like with the police station, some say if the police station goes out to Scotiabank, well, then use the other 50,000 square feet for court space. Well, we have a courthouse downtown at the end of Main Street. I don't think it's expanded its court facilities with the move of the offices into the addition that we did.
Back here.
Gee, you guys don't get any questions. What's that all about?
I just have a question regarding the policies and procedures the city has to follow for all these new developments. So how do you plan on bringing this in without an RPF?
You can have well, actually what I'm hoping for, or what I've been told, is that council's got another meeting in February, another open house. Eventually at one of those open houses, I've asked to be invited to it, to present it to the city. And one of the reasons I'm doing these open houses is that there's no way council's going to sit through 2 hours of this time and an hour and a half of last time, or hour and 40 minutes of last time to get the story across. So the story's out there. Here's all the details. I would basically walk into councils and ask, do you have any questions? Right? Do your research, you know? But also you can have I did it with the Erie Street Parking Garage. It's, what's the term when an RF, it's a unsolicited proposal. So it isn't like they asked me, I'm asking them. So any citizen can say, can we do this? You know, and for some smaller projects, you see that in city, can we do this on parkland, right? Sure, you can build a little whatever there as long as it follows the rules. So it's an unsolicited request for proposal. Gotta learn those terms, Robert. Anything else?
Any other questions? Oh,
I saw the hand up.
Thank you for taking this question. I was curious if you could say, how affordable will the rent be in the apartments?
Okay. So some of the stuff last time I didn't repeat this time. And so the idea, and I didn't even talk about this, and I should have. So great question. The answer is it's not. It's only affordable to people that have money. Now here's the reason. I mean, Ken Wood, who lives in affordable housing in the city of Stratford, what do you call himself? The disturber or whatever? Anyways, you can put a word in front of it. He said that it made sense on the idea. The idea is if we as a city develop that building, we would make $200 a square foot in income. Like now run the math. So I have 52 units at 1,000 square feet times 200 is over $10 million. So the idea is we take the 10 million, 1.2 of that goes into cleaning up the land, and the other remaining funds go to develop the common space of the concourse. So all the entrances, escalators, elevators, corridors, skylight, walls is coming out of that 8.8 million. Here's the other beauty of it. They pay property taxes. You know how much I like that. I'm almost sounding like Trump with tariffs, and I wasn't going to talk about Trump tonight, but the property taxes, and I'm not, like you hear me, I'm not planning to raise property taxes, but if you're living in a building downtown Stratford with a view of downtown or a southern view, and you're connected to this facility, it's high end. But the taxes at $3,000, I don't think I even have the slide in here, a unit times 52 units, it's over $150,000 a year. Well, that covers the operating costs of the concourse level. And so, you know, janitorial, electricity, heating, taxpayers not paying, at least not the other taxpayers, the new taxpayers are paying. And that's good because they want to be there, they're benefiting by it, and they're getting a decent accommodation. And I think 3,000 for a 1,000 square foot condo in that location is probably undervalued at 3,000.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, it's win-win. Like we're all and that's the idea here. Let's see how we can benefit each other. The win-win with you buy the Y, that Y gives money to the GTR. So it's not leaving the home, staying with us. Good question. Thank you for asking.
any other questions?
Okay, what can you do is the question. Talk to your counselors. Get this, that's on the website or will be, and feed it to them. Here's a link. Why aren't you doing this? Tell me why this doesn't make sense. Tell me what are you going to do to verify whether Ritz is lying to us or whether there's some validation to what he's doing. As an architect, I'm not allowed to lie. It's professional misconduct.
Yep.
So everything here, I believe, can happen. The numbers, they're taking longer than I expected because I had to do more drawings to get sharper numbers. So that's why there's the delay in the numbers. So sorry about that. We will publish once we get them. Okay, anything else? Thank you very much. Check our website at www.gtrshops.ca for the link to this, as well as Ballaran Entertainment's, their site as well. So thank you, Ballaran, and thanks to all my people that assisted me on this. And thanks to my guest speakers. Thank you.